I want to thank everybody for gathering together for another Sabbath lesson. Today's topic is going to be titled, "It's a Fearful Thing to Fall into the Hands of the Living God." Let's read the introduction. Shalom, Israel, and thank you for gathering together once again to celebrate God's holy day. Today's topic is regarding why we should fear God over man. We will learn why he is called the Most High, the All-Powerful. Our day-to-day activities and conversation proves who we truly fear. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading of his holy word. So we're going to get some understanding basically of who we should fear, why we are to fear the Most High, and why we are not to fear man. Because a lot of people claim that they don't fear man, but you know, their day-to-day, the way they act, the way they talk, it shows that they're actually scared of what people going to say about them. They're not willing to stand bold in this truth. So let's get into the scriptures. We're going to start in Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 12. Shalom to our visitor online. Thank you for joining us. So again, we're starting at Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 12. Hopefully everybody can hear me. If whoever's online, if you can hear me, if you can give me a con. Shalom. There you go. Shalom, shalom, sister. All right, looks like she can hear. So Deuteronomy chapter 10 verse 12, it reads, "And now, Israel," so he's addressing Israel. He said, "What doth the Lord thy God require of thee? But to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul." So he's giving you the requirement, Israel, of what you need to be doing. But basically your whole purpose, which we're going to get. I think we got another precept on that coming up. But he's making it be known that he said Israel. He didn't say the world. He didn't say all nations. He said, "And now Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee?" Meaning of you. "But to fear the Lord thy God." What to fear means you're fearing his judgment. You're going to do what he tells you to do, knowing that if you don't, there's a judgment that comes behind that. Right? It says also to walk in all his ways. Did it say walk in some of his ways? The ones that you feel like doing? The ones that are easy to do? No. It says to walk in all his ways. To love him. We already know what love means. Who knows what the precept of what love is? What is love? According to the word. Exactly. And to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. So everything we are to do in this life as Israelites is we're going to be serving God while we're doing it. While you go to work, you serve God. When you go to school, you serve God. When you just as simple as going to the store, you serve God. Everything you do is something you need to make sure that you're giving him all the praise and reverence and doing what he's asking you to do, not letting anything compromise you keeping the commandments. So let's go to the next scripture. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 12. It's the precept I was talking about. Still in the Old Testament. So he said first that the requirement for Israel was to fear him and keep his commandments, basically, right? It's actually Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13, not verse 12. Give y'all a little time to get to it. So Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 13, it reads, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter." So basically at the end of the day, this is what it comes down to. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. So this is our duty. Same thing as a requirement. that we just read in Deuteronomy 10 and 12. So this is the precept for that, showing you that the whole duty of man, especially in the Israelite man and woman, is to fear God and keep his commandments. Pretty simple, right? There's no way around it. So let's go to Matthew chapter 22. We're going to get Christ's words on this. Matthew chapter 22, and we're going to start at verse 34. We're going to read 34, we're going to read down to verse 40. Shalom, shalom, brother, shalom, welcome. So Matthew chapter 22, verse 34. It said, but when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they were gathered together. Does anybody remember who the Pharisees and Sadducees were? Yeah. These were the high priests at the time. The high priests, they were the leaders, the religious leaders at the time. Kind of like your pastors and whatnot today. But remember, Christ had to come and correct them because there was a lot of things they weren't doing correctly. So it says, verse 34 again, but when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they were gathered together. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him and saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? So he's asking him, what's the greatest commandment in the law? Right? And he called him master at that. Because Christ was a master at this law. They knew what it was. So Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. So he said the first and the great commandment is that you should love the Lord. Love him with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. Verse 39. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Verse 40. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. What does that verse 40 mean? Does anybody know?
Everybody's following it, no matter who they are.
Let's read it again. Let's get some understanding. He said, on these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. So let me ask you a question. Is there just two commandments in the Bible? No. So what is he saying in verse 40? He's basically saying the whole law can be summed up with these two commandments. Love the Lord thy God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul. Love your neighbor as thyself. Because if you break down all the commandments, they all going to fall into those two categories. You're either going to be loving the Most High or you're going to love your neighbor. Keeping the Sabbath and keeping the Sabbath, not putting any other gods before the Most High, that's you showing, keeping the first great commandment. You not committing adultery on your neighbor's wife, not lying to your neighbor. That's you showing love to your neighbor as you love yourself, because you wouldn't want nobody to do that to you. And there's a multitude, there's a number of other things also. Those are just a couple of examples showing you that when he said that these two hang on all the law and the prophets, basically he's saying that's just summarizing everything up in two commandments. Because if you remember back in verse 35, he said one of them, which was a lawyer, had asked him a question, tempting him. Basically trying to get Christ to say that one commandment is greater than another. When all the commandments is important to keep. From the least down to the greatest. That's why I said he was tempting him. They was trying to trip him up. But Christ just basically said, look, these are the two great commandments, and this is and on these two hang all the law and the prophets. This is me summarizing it up. That's all he was saying. So let's go to Hebrews chapter 10. Still in the New Testament. Hebrews chapter 10. And we're going to start at verse 24. Who wrote Hebrews? Who wrote the book of Hebrews? New Testament. Think about it. Paul. Good job.
Okay. I guess. Sorry.
And again, for those just coming into the truth, if you think about it, people that's the lie or I guess the misunderstanding of the New Testament is that it includes all nations, right? Just the simple fact that you got a book called Hebrews in the New Testament an alarm should be ringing off in your head. Because the Hebrew language, first of all, Hebrew was a language that we were speaking in the beginning. But it's showing you that as Hebrew Israelites, we ended up spreading throughout the four corners of the earth. And Paul was going to teach those scattered Israelites, the ones that didn't know, that they was, they were keeping Gentile customs and whatnot. So Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 24. It says, "And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more, as ye see the day approaching." So verse 25 is telling us we need to be assembling ourselves together. That's a commandment. That's what we need to be doing. How else are we going to come together and build up a nation if we're not gathering together? Because you got some people out here that think that they just can do this on their own. Nah, you need other brothers and sisters to help you, to exhort you. When things are a little tough for you, you got another brother or sister to help pick you up, and vice versa. It says, "And so much more as ye see the day approaching." What do you think that means?
When he's back.
Exactly. That day is approaching. Sure, we see in the prophecies coming to pass today. We see all this stuff going on in the world. So as more and more as you see the day of the Lord approaching, we need to be exhorting each other, assembling together, getting ourselves right, getting back in order. Verse 26 says, "For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins." So what does it mean to sin willfully? What does it mean to sin willfully?
Like
Like,
you know
hold
that
on.
you didn't.
Like keep sinning even though you know you're not supposed to.
Exactly. That's pretty much what it is. He just told you, if you sin willfully, meaning you receive the knowledge of the truth. Somebody, you know for a fact that you're not supposed to eat pork, but you're going to go eat it anyway. You sinning willfully. You know for a fact you're not supposed to commit adultery and you go do it anyway. Whatever other sin there is. You know you're not supposed to celebrate this day, but you're supposed to celebrate the high holy days, but you would rather keep your traditions and not keep the Most High's traditions. That's willfully sinning. And so he said, "There remaineth no more sacrifice for sins for you." And pretty much it's just a slap in Christ's face, because he came and died to bring us back into the fold, not for you to continue to stay in that sin. He said, let me read the end of that again. He said, "There remaineth no more sacrifice for sins, but a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fiery indignation, which shall devour the adversaries." So that's what you got to look forward to when you willfully sin. He says, what you need to be worried about at that point is just be looking over your shoulder for judgment, because it's coming. Because you willfully sinning. You playing that game. That's like your child, daughter or son. You tell them not to do something, they just keep it blatantly in your face, just willfully doing what you told them not to do. At this point, you looking for judgment. You looking to get your behind whooped. And that's what Christ is saying. You looking to get your behind toe up if you running around here willfully sinning and you don't receive the knowledge of the truth. So really speaking to the ones that's already, understand the truth and understand that you need to keep the laws. Because the ones that don't know, they're in ignorance right now. Now some people choose to stay in ignorance. They don't want to learn because they know that Bible's going to condemn them. But the ones that do know, us in this room, the other Israelites around keeping the laws, if you running around willfully sinning, hey, you should already know judgment is going to come on you for that. Verse 28, it says, "He that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses. I'm sorry. He that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses. So the ones that hated Moses' law back in the Old Testament, they died without mercy. Meaning it wasn't no this was the old covenant, right? It was some sins that you had to die for at that point. You didn't have the chance of mercy for certain things. Today we living under Christ as our sacrificial lamb. So now, if you see it now, you got Christ as that what do you call it? The propitiation of sins. He brings you to the Father. You got to go through him for forgiveness to get to the Father. So it says, verse 29, of how much more sore punishment, suppose ye shall he be thought worthy, who hath trodden under the foot the Son of God, and hath counted the blood of the covenant, wherewith he was sanctified and in holy thing, and hath done despite unto the Spirit of grace. So basically saying, if now that we got that Christ died for our sins, right, the punishment is going to be that much worse. Because if people think when Christ came, he came to make it easier. No. He came to really hold your foot to the fire and make you have to keep these commandments. There ain't no getting around it now. So the punishment it's gonna be even worse this time around than it was then. Cause there ain't no more sacrifice for sins. There ain't no more animal sacrifice. You can't go get a goat and think you gonna. Nah, your bloodshed is now at hand, and it's gonna be worse. This time it's gonna be that eternal. If you want to make the kingdom, keep the commandments, man. That's the end of the day. Verse 30. He said, for we know him that has said, vengeance belongeth unto me. I will recompense, saith the Lord. And again, the Lord shall judge his people. So vengeance belong unto the Most High, to Christ. He said, I will recompense, meaning I'm going to pay back all those sins, saith the Lord. And again, the Lord shall judge his people. Right now we're receiving judgment for the things we've done, for things our forefathers did. Verse 31 says, it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. So that's the title of the lesson, right? He's saying it's a fearful thing. You should be scared of what the Most High gonna do to you for sinning. You should be scared to even think about committing a sin, because the Most High can bring any type of judgment on you. And there's no telling what it could be. You sitting around worried about what somebody else gonna say because you keeping the commandments, when really the Most High can do 10 times, 1,000 times more than what that person could ever do to you. We're going down to verse, that's it, just to verse 31. So again, it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. So don't be sinning willfully. Don't be despising the laws and commandments. We need to be assembling ourselves together. The Sabbath day, we coming together for a holy convocation. I saw the brother put that online. This is a holy gathering that we have every Sabbath day. And on the feast day, we come together. It's commanded of us to do that. So let's go to Jeremiah chapter 10. I'm sorry. Back in the Old Testament, Jeremiah, one of the prophets. Jeremiah chapter 10, we're going to start at verse 7. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 7. Says what living God means. So it says, who would not fear thee, O King of nations? For to thee doth it appertain, meaning belong. For as much as among all the wise men of the nations, and in all their kingdoms, there is none like unto thee. There's none like unto the Most High. It says, but they are altogether brutish and foolish. The stock is a doctrine of vanities. So, it's talking about the wise men of this earth. Even them, they're just brutish and foolish compared to the Most High. It says their stock is a doctrine of vanities, meaning lies and worthlessness. It says silver spread into plates is brought from Tarshish, and gold from Euphaz, the work of the workman, and of the hands of the founder. Blue and purple is their clothing. They are all the work of cunning men. But the Lord is the true God. He is the living God and an everlasting King. So they can do all of that. It says silver spread in the plates is brought from Tarshish, gold from Euphaz, the work of the workman, the hands of the founder. Type of stuff that people might hold to high regard or whatnot. It says they're all the work of cunning men. Let's see what cunning. And it's the work of skillful, wise men, right? But at the end of the day, the Lord is the true God. He's the living God, an everlasting King. It says, at his wrath, the earth shall tremble, and the nations shall not be able to abide in his indignation, meaning his anger. It's his righteous anger, because this world is full of sin, man.
Is that when they say like there's an earthquake or a hurricane or something that the earth trembles when God's upset and you should pay attention to what's going on?
Exactly. We brought that up earlier. It's a lot of things going on, a lot of natural disasters and things like that. That's the Most High bringing judgment. So yeah, you should tremble at that, because it's certain places where some of these things is happening. It's never happened before. Like if Texas was to get an earthquake or something. That's not something that we normally see, but the Lord can do that if he wanted to.
Do you mind clicking on indignation?
Yes. So indignation is his displeasure with sin, anger, his rage. The Lord is hot right now because he looking down here, he's seeing all this evil that's going on. And so at some point, it's going to get to the point where we said when that cup gets full, remember? It's going to be to the point where he said, enough is enough. I got to come down there and purge all that sin out. I got to get rid of all these wicked men and people. Verse 11. It says, thus shall ye say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. Because God's lowercase is just a ruler, somebody that's in a position of authority, a power that's on this earth. He said they have not made the heavens and the earth like the Most High. And they gonna likewise perish from this earth and from under these heavens. Verse 12. He hath made the earth by his power. Talking about the Most High and Christ, because he was there in the beginning too. He said he hath established the world by his wisdom. He established the world by his wisdom and has stretched out the heavens by his discretion. It says, verse 13, when he uttered his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. So just his voice alone can bring all of that. That's power. That's the true living God. This is why we should fear him and not man, because he can cause all of these things just off the just pure nature of just speaking it. Because once he speaks it, it's going to happen. Verse 14. It says, every man is brutish in his knowledge. Meaning what? Let's click on the word brutish. Let me see. Well, really, it's not saying it here, but basically, a man that's brutish in his knowledge, meaning he had a man off top without the knowledge of God thinks kind of like animal-like. Meaning, if without the knowledge of God, right? If there was a door in front of me, instead of the knowledge of let me turn the knob and open the door, an animal, what would an animal do? They're just gonna try to ram straight through the door. not knowing that there's a smarter way to do it. Our minds normally is brutish. That's what he's saying. Every man is brutish in his knowledge. Without the Most High, you really have no knowledge. You have no wisdom. So he said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Brutish means like animal-like?
Right. Let me go to the internet and show y'all. Let's click on, here we go, right here. Merriam-Webster's dictionary. So it says, having or showing the nature and appetites of a lower animal. Basically, what was that part that they said?
Beastly up there and animal.
Right, synonyms. Animalistic, beastly, brutal, subhuman. So it's you have those type of characteristics when you don't have the Most High's knowledge or wisdom, right? So let's go back to it. Verse 14, it says, every man is brutish in his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. Meaning you can, we sit up here and a lot of people, they idolize things and they worship, statues and things that are graven and made by man. He said, but it's falsehood. There's no breath in them. They can't do nothing to you. You sitting up here bowing and doing all that stuff when you should be reverencing the Most High and keeping His commandments. So, where are we going down to verse 18? So, verse 15, it says, they are vanity and the work of errors. In the time of their visitation, they shall perish. So, the Most High come back, all that stuff gonna perish, man. They gonna see that, especially these other nations. And the reason why these other nations created these other idols, because heck, they know the Bible. They know that the God, and our God is for us. He's the God of Israel. So they had to make up their own gods. They had to make and create gods for them to worship. Because they know that the God of Israel, He's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his children. So they had to make up these other gods and idols to worship because they didn't have one. But see, the trick is after we sinned, now the Lord used them and got us worshiping the same idols they worshiping when we have the one and only true God. That's why we got to return back. So where we at? Verse 16. It says the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name.
What is the portion of Jacob is not like them? I mean,
so we're not supposed to be like these type of people that he just described in 14 and 15.
Would the portion also be a synonym for descendants?
Right, the portions of descendants, because we are the Lord's portion.
yes.
So
I got that part I meant for it is, and he is the former of all things, meaning it all started with Jacob.
right, but so before all of these idols were even created and whatnot, basically it started with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. We were the former of all things. We knew we had the true God. We had the living God. We were keeping the commandments. We was on top, but we fell away because of idolatry. So we are not to be like, brutish in knowledge and confounded by graven images and things of that nature.
So the portion of Jacob that is not like them, could it be the awakened people?
Right. The ones in the truth, we know we're not like them. We don't think like that. We know we're not about to be bound to no Caesar Borgia that they got hanging up in these churches. It's an image of white Christ. Or, in the Catholic religion, they bound down to the Mother Mary and all of that type of stuff. They be having these shrines set up in their houses and stuff like that. Like, we know better than that. He said Israel is the rod of his inheritance. So he's the with the strength of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. And so it says, gather up thy wares out of the land, O inhabitant of the fortress. see, the wares package. Gather up thy wares out of the land, O inhabitant of the fortress. For thus saith the Lord, behold, I will sling out the inhabitants of the land at this once, and will distress them, and that they may find it so. And will distress them. So basically just the ones that's not keeping, that's what ended up happening to us. Because we was in the land committing all that sin. He had to get us up out of there. Same way he gonna get them false Jews up out of there. Ain't no peace over there going on right now. That's how we know that they aren't the true people. Because when Christ come back and the true people is back in the land, then there's gonna be peace over there in that area. Ain't gonna be all those wars going on and whatnot. So he's saying he gonna distress them that they may find it so. So basically that was just showing us what the living God is, that the power that he had. He created everything. Just not showing. So we're going to go to the book of Matthew in the New Testament. The book of Matthew, and we're at chapter 10. Book of Matthew, chapter 10. We're going to start at verse 24. Those are good questions, though. All right, so Matthew 10 and 24 reads, "The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord." So a disciple is what? A student. The student is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. Lord meaning the person that's over you, who's ruling you. A servant is just somebody that's a worker. So just like at your job, you got your bosses or whatnot. It says, verse 25, "It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master." That should be enough. "And the servants as his Lord. If they have called the master of the house of Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household?" So Beelzebub says that's the name of Satan. So if they have called the master of the house of Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household? Meaning we've called the rulers of this world our masters, so how much more shall we call them of his household? Christ, he's our master. He's our Lord. Verse 26. Fear them not, therefore. So don't have fear of man and the ones ruling this world. But there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. So even today, you can see what's going on. If you pay attention to any of the entertainment news, you're seeing all these wicked people being revealed in these last days. All these allegations of sexual misconduct with these people when they was kids and whatnot. All these people telling on these executives, these people that's in power, they getting revealed. So and nothing's being hid. Everything it's coming to the son of perdition is being revealed at this time. We know who these wicked people are. Verse 27. It says, "What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light. And what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops." So when he's giving us these sayings and we're breaking down the Bible, we're getting the understanding. He said we're to speak these things. And when we hear these things, we're supposed to preach this to our people. And not be worried and scared about what somebody's going to say. It says, verse 28, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul. Because that's all they can do at the end of the day. We got to be willing to die for this truth. Because I saw something on Facebook not too long ago. A brother was posting talking about you got brothers out here in these gangs and whatnot that'll die over nothing. They'll die over shoes, over a block, over somebody talking about their mama. Somebody push you or touch you or look at you the wrong way. You'll die over that. But when it comes to the Most High, we ain't willing to die for that. We ain't willing to die for truth. So, hey, if you're going to die for something, make it be meaningful. Make it be for this truth. Because at the end of the day, they can only kill you once. They can only kill your body. But the Lord has control over where your soul is going to end up. That's what it says in the second part. It says, but rather fear him, which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Because remember, you're going to die. He going to raise the dead, and they're going to be judged also. So then you could be literally put to death twice. So the Lord only has that type of power. Verse 29. It says, are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing, and one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father? But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear ye not, therefore. Ye are of more value than many sparrows. So hey, you got more value than because the sparrow's a bird. So it said you're more value than that. Think of yourself like that. That's how you need to be walking in boldness in this truth. Verse 32. Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. But whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. So hey, be aware. Because the Lord is watching everything you're doing. His eyes is on us at all times. So he knows whether or not if you're denying him or confessing. And so we just got to work on that. I'm reading a comment from the brother. They said Jesus had an evil spirit. He's the master. They accused to be following Beelzebub. So that's why he's saying they will call you that too. The ones that don't understand. Got you. Shalom, brother. Thank you for that understanding on that. So yeah, they were basically saying Christ. They were trying to call Christ evil, trying to say he was the devil for bringing the doctrine that he was bringing, and they was gonna call us that too when we bring out this truth. It's gonna look to them like we the devil because it's something that they totally don't understand. Shalom, brother, for that. So again, Matthew 10 and verse 33 says, whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. So make sure you're not denying Christ. Don't compromise keeping the laws just because you're scared of what somebody gonna say and you're not confessing. Hey, no, I can't do that, man. Christ told me not to do that. I can't. That's why I don't do it. You shouldn't do it either. Don't be afraid to say that. So let's move on to the next verse. We're in Job. Job chapter 9. Job chapter 9. So it says the whole chapter. We'll move through this pretty quick. So it says, then Job answered and said, I know it is so of a truth, but how should man be just with God? If he will contend with him, he cannot answer him 1 of 1,000. He is wise in heart and mighty in strength, who hath hardened himself against him and hath prospered. So he that's wise in the mind and mighty in strength, it says, who hath hardened himself against him and hath prospered? Asking basically like a rhetorical question. Who has done that you can't contend with the Most High. He says, which removeth the mountains, and they know not, which overturneth them in his anger. which shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble. Again, talking about how he made the earth tremble, moving the earth out of her place, which commanded the sun, and it riseth not, and sealeth up the stars. So the Lord has the power to do all of that. Who can contend with that? Which alone spreadeth out the heavens, and treadeth upon the waves of the sea, which maketh Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades, and the chambers of the south. So I think those are your what do you call them? Your constellations in the sky. Yeah, it's a constellation. Which doeth great things past finding out, yea, and wonders without number. The number of wonders, we can't count how the wonders that the Most High have done. Lo, he goeth by me, and see him not. He passeth on also, but I perceive him not. Behold, he taketh away. Who can hinder him? Who will say unto him, What doest thou? Behold, let me read that again. Behold, he taketh away. Who can hinder him? Who can stop the Most High from taking away? Who will say unto him, What doest thou? What you doing, Lord? Why are you doing that? A lot of people ask these type of things foolishly. Why me, Lord? Or why you do this? Why you take my, when somebody died? Why you take this person from me? What are you asking the Most High these questions for? He's all power. He can do what he wants. You don't even know you can't even comprehend the knowledge and wisdom that he got. Verse 13. If God will not withdraw his anger, the proud helpers do stoop under him. How much less shall I answer him and choose out my words to reason with him? So whom though I were righteous, yet would I not answer, but I would make supplication to my judge. If I had called and he had answered me, yet would I not believe that he had hearkened unto my voice. So if I had called and he had answered me, yet I would not believe that he had hearkened unto my voice. So even if I was a call on the Most High and he answered, I still wouldn't believe that he hearkened to my voice. It's just that he doing it on his own will. For he breaketh me with a tempest and multiplieth my wounds without cause. So he can wound you without cause. He ain't got to have a reason to do it. Just do it. He will not suffer me to take my breath, but filleth me with bitterness. If I speak of strength, lo, he is strong. And if of judgment, who shall set me a time to plead? If I justify myself, mine own mouth shall condemn me. So we've talked about this before also. Don't be trying to justify yourself as perfect. We ain't nothing. At the end of the day, we all need a savior. So if you try to justify yourself, you'll end up condemning yourself in the process. Because it's something that you done that ain't according to the Most High. The second part of that says, if I say I am perfect, it shall also prove me perverse. So the Most High is the one that can make that determination if you perfect in his eyes. So don't be walking around thinking you perfect. It says, though I were perfect, yet would I not know my soul. I would despise my life. So, though I were perfect, yet would I not know my soul. I would despise my life, meaning I would hate my life. Even if I was perfect, you don't know. You need to know who your soul. You gotta know where you come from. That you're an Israelite. This is one thing. Therefore I said. This is one thing. Therefore I said it. He destroyeth the perfect and the wicked. So he can destroy both perfect and wicked people. If the scourge slay suddenly, he will laugh at the trial of the innocent. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Showing you the earth is given it right now. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. We've talked about that precept before. And he covered the faces of the judges thereof, because we were the original judges of the earth. We were the rulers of this earth. He's covered our faces To the point we don't even know we was royalty at one point. 25. Now my days are swifter than a post. They flee away. They see no good. They are passed away as the swift ships, as the eagle that hasted to the prey. So he's saying my days are swifter than a post. They flee away. They see no good. The days are just moving fast. They're just going by. He said they passed away as the swift ships, as the eagles that hasten to the prey. If I say I will forget my complaint, I will leave off my heaviness, his sorrow, and comfort myself. So, if I say I will forget my complaint, babbling, communication, complaining, he said, then I will leave off my heaviness, my sorrow, and comfort myself. I am afraid of all my sorrows. I know that thou will not hold me innocent.
So, excuse me, does verse 27 mean so if we stop complaining, we won't have heaviness of heart?
Right.
It won't be more.
Showing you that you comfort yourself when you're not in a complaining spirit. When you forget what you're complaining about. Because think about it for a second. The things at the time when we complaining about something, at that moment, you're not really thinking about why you're going through that or the things that you've done wrong. You just automatically in your mind like, oh man, why this got to happen to me? But he said you can comfort yourself when you forget that complaint. Just leave it up. Your heaviness and your sorrows you'll be able to comfort yourself, knowing that God is the reason for everything. He said, I'm afraid of all my sorrows. He said, I know that thou will not hold me innocent. If I be wicked, why then labor I in vain? If I wash myself with snow water, and make my hands never so clean. So we can clean ourselves as much as you want to. It's still dirt. We still nothing in the eyes of the Most High. So you just need to keep the commandments, be humble. Don't be looking at yourself as perfect. He's the all living God. He can do what he is fearful to be in the hands of the Most High. That's what the whole lesson is about. He said, yet shalt thou plunge me in the ditch, and mine own clothes shall abhor me. For he is not a man as I am, that I should answer him, and we should come together in judgment. So the Most High is not like a man. You can't come to him and reason with him on the judgment. Like, oh Lord, well what about you? No, it's whatever he says goes. He already laid the word out for us, the foundation of everything. It says, neither is there any daysman betwixt us that might lay his hand upon us both. Click on that daysman. It's not clicking just on that word. It says to be right. Reciprocal argue. There's no argument between us that might lay his hand upon us both. Let him take his rod away from me, and let not his fear terrify me. Then would I speak and not fear him. But it is not so with me. So he's just saying that's not going to be me. I'm not going to speak against the Most High. That's how we should be. We're not going to speak against him. Because if y'all read the story of Job and know what Job was going through, everything was taken from Job, and he was a righteous man. This brother kept the laws. But even so, you still ain't nothing. You could be keeping the laws, and in the eyes of the Most High, it's still something that you ain't doing. Because we haven't mastered everything yet. We're learning how to keep the commandments and how to be right with our brothers and sisters and whatnot. Job still has some characteristic flaws that he could fix and he could correct. Because, he got mad too. He like he said, he would think of complaints, but then at the time he would forget those complaints. So at the end of the day, Job is one of those stories that you got to read on your own time to get a full understanding of why he's saying these things, and basically what he went through to show that even after he was stripped of all those things, he still didn't go against the Most High. He didn't question and think, well, dang, the Most High, I shouldn't listen to him. I hate him. I'm gonna do what I want because he done took everything from me anyway. Nah, because at the end he was blessed with even more than what he had to begin with. And I think we might be going into that. Let's go to chapter 38. Job chapter 38. Yeah, because this is towards the end, so it's got to be. Let me see. Maybe not. But yeah, Job was given much more later on for his obedience and, you know, not curse. Because his own wife, I think, told him you should curse God. But he done took this from you and took that from you. He's like, woman, you sound like a foolish woman. What's wrong with you? Think I'm gonna curse God? He got the power to do what he want to do. It's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the Most High. Why in the heck would me, a mere man, try to? And we have to have that spirit because there's a lot of brothers and sisters that don't have that spirit. They out here living in this world and they think that they know more than God. Nah, I ain't gotta do that. That's not important. And they foolish for thinking that way. So let's go to Job chapter 38. It says, Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, Who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Where was thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare, if thou hast understanding. He said, Where was you when I created the earth? Go ahead, tell me, where was you at? Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? Asking these questions. He said, When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Or who shut up the sea with doors? And when it brake forth, as if it had issued out of the womb. When I made the cloud the garment thereof, and thick darkness a swaddling band for it, and break up for it my decreed place, and set bars and doors, and said, Hitherto shalt thou come, but no further, and here shall thy proud waves be stayed. Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days, and caused the dayspring to know its place? So he's saying, if you got an answer, because he's rhetorically asking them, but it's like you coming to your son, like, or your child, asking them questions that they you know the answer to, but they thinking they know so much. So you like, who paid for this? How did you get this? I did all of that. But the Lord, even 10 times more, he created everything. And he said, verse 13, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked might be shaken out of it. It is turned as clay to the seal, and they stand as a garment. And from the wicked their light is withholden, and the high arm shall be broken. Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea? Or hast thou walked in the search of the depth? You don't know how deep the sea. Man been trying to do these things. They've been trying to find out these things. They can't do it. They die trying to do it. Trying to find out how deep the sea is, or where, And we know who's doing that. It's Esau doing all that, because we ain't doing that. But that's because they try to make themselves God, and try to find the things out of God, not knowing that it's you can't measure his power and his greatness. So he said, Have the gates of death been opened unto thee? Or hast thou seen the doors of the shadow of death? Hast thou perceived the breadth of the earth? Declare if thou knowest all. Saying, if you know everything, go ahead and tell me then, since you know it all. Where is the way where light dwelleth? Where does light come from? And as for darkness, where is the place there? Where does the darkness go or come from? That thou shouldest take it to the bound thereof, and that thou shouldest know the paths to the house thereof. Knowest thou it, because thou was then born, or because the number of thy days is great? Because some people think what? We already read a precept on that before about how just because you older, a man could be older than you, but that don't mean they wiser all the time. Age don't mean nothing. That's just a number. Just because you 50, 60, 70 years old, you still don't have no real wisdom. Even if you, like he's saying, you could be perfect in this law, you still ain't got the wisdom of the Most High, because this ain't everything. We just got a piece. We only know in part with the Most High. He gonna come and just be obedient to what you got, to what you do have. Hold fast to that, and he gonna come straighten out everything when the Christ come back. You might be able to skip down a little bit. Let's go to verse 36. It says, "Who hath put wisdom in the inward parts, or who hath given understanding to the heart?" Because the heart is the mind. "Who can number the clouds in wisdom, or who can stay the bottles of heaven? When the dust groweth into hardness, and the clouds cleave fast together. Wilt thou hunt the prey for the lion, or feel the appetite of the young lions, when they couch in their dens and abide in the covert to lie in wait? Who provided for the raven his food, when his young ones crying to God? They wonder for lack of meat." So just asking all these rhetorical questions, because he knows that he's just telling you this. All of this is basically what the Most High can do, and he's able to do all of these things. He's able to give the answers to these if he wanted to. But we can't, because we just man. But like I said, go back and read Job. You'll understand why he was talking to him like that. Because Job probably had some questioning going on in his mind. Like, why is this happening? You know. And Job was perfect in the sight of the Most High. The Lord allowed Satan to test him. He just said, just don't kill him. So we're going to go to Matthew chapter 7. New Testament, Matthew chapter 7. And we're going to start at verse 21. So in this one we're going to be saying, it says, Jesus explaining the results of not fearing God. So Matthew chapter 7 verse 21. "Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven." So just because people running around here claiming they love God, always got the Lord or Jesus in their mouth, but ain't keeping no commandments, you ain't doing the will of the Father. He said only the ones that doeth the will of the Father gonna enter into the kingdom. Not just because you walking around saying you love God, because it's not about what you say. That's why when they quote verses like all you gotta do is confess with your mouth that or believe that Christ rose from the dead and that you'll make it, that don't hold no weight, because it's action behind that. So they don't have understanding of what that means. He said, "He that doeth the will of my Father." To do something means that's an action. So the first part of it, he said, people are just talking. They saying unto him, Lord, Lord. The second part, he's saying, these are the people that's going to make the kingdom. These are the ones that's doing the will of the Father. Out here spreading the truth, standing bold in righteousness, proclaiming the name of the Most High. Verse 22 says, "Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have cast out devils? And in thy name done many wonderful works?" They be saying, "Lord, I thought we were serving you. We was doing what you would expect, right? We cast out devils. We've done many wonderful things. I helped the poor. I gave some money to the poor man on the corner. I held the door open for the young lady when she came in." He said in verse 23, he said, "And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity." That's a fearful thing. To be thinking all this time you've been serving the Most High, but at the end of the day, he said, "I never knew you. I don't even know you, because you obviously don't know me. You don't know my commandments." He said, "Depart from me, ye that work iniquity." Iniquity is that sin. Verse 24. "Therefore whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, that which built his house upon a rock." Because that rock is Christ. You're building your foundation on Christ. you wise if you hear this word of God and keep it. Remember, he said, my sheep hear my voice. So the ones coming back to this truth and understanding and doing these laws and commandments to the best of their abilities, they going to be the ones that's going to see the kingdom. But these people running around that's claiming to be Christian, but ain't keeping no commandments, not reading the Bible for themselves, and going precept upon precept to get the understanding, and just basically doing what they want to do. He said, at the end of the day, they gonna in that day they gonna be asking the Most High, hey, I thought I was doing what you asked me to do. He gonna say, depart from me. I ain't never know you. You don't want that. Let's go to chapter 13. And we're gonna start at verse 41. So hey, that should scare you in a sense. You should be like really trying to learn these commandments the best way you can. Study. Don't just read the Bible, study the Bible. You know? Because you need to be doing the best you can. You're going to be held accountable for this. Matthew chapter 13, verse 41. It says, the Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity. So anybody that's committing sin, they gonna gather them up. He said, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. So that eternal fire. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a treasure hid in a field, that which when a man hath found, he hideth, and for joy thereof goeth and selleth all that he hath, and buyeth that field. So if you was to find a treasure in a field, he's saying, he's comparing this the kingdom of heaven to that. He's saying, man, he went and sold everything he had. That's why you willing to bring that into keeping the laws is basically once you find out that you are royalty, that you are the chosen generation, that's a treasure that you find out. The kingdom is for you. That should be like treasure to you. You should be willing to give up everything that you ever learned and was taught for this truth. That's what we got to do. You got to be willing to go sell everything that you have and buy that field that treasure's on. You need to get into these commandments, into this word. He gonna make another comparison. He said again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchant man seeking goodly pearls, who when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Same thing. A merchant man is somebody that's a hosman, a tradesman. If he was to find a great pearl that was worth a great price, he gonna sell everything he got, because he know that one pearl is worth more than everything he got. 10 times more than that. Verse 47. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea and gathered of every kind, which when it was full, they drew to shore and sat down and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away. So if you was to dip your net into the sea, you're going to come up with all types of stuff. You're going to come up with some good stuff, some bad stuff. He said you're going to take it to the shore, you're going to sit down and gather up the good stuff, and you're going to cast away the bad. That's how it is with the kingdom. He's going to gather us all up, and he's going to disperse. You're going to have your people that was keeping the commandments on one side, and the other side you're going to have people that didn't want to keep the commandments. That's how it's going to be. He said, so shall it be at the end of the world. That's how it's going to be. He said the angels shall come forth, and sever the wicked from among the just. You're going to separate them. You're going to separate the good from the bad. Because that's what's not going on today. Nobody's severing good from evil. They just intermingling everything together. They made gay marriage okay. They made, you can eat whatever you want, do whatever you want, be whatever religion you want to be. It don't matter. They've made good evil and evil good. But that's not going to happen in the end. Verse 50. It says, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Those people that's not keeping the commandments. Jesus saith unto them, have ye understood all these things? They say unto him, yea, Lord. So they understood what he was talking about. Once he broke down the kingdom and gave them examples about what it was gonna be like in the end. They said, yeah, we understand. Let's go to 2 Corinthians. Got a few more to go. 2 Corinthians, and we're at chapter 5. We're going to read 1 through 11. I believe this is the right one. Yeah, it's the right one. 2 Corinthians 5. All right, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 1. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of God, an house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. For in this we groan, earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house which is from heaven. Because we are a tabernacle, right? We are the, what do you say? We're the temple of God. But these bodies are going to dissolve. Verse 3. If so be that being clothed, we shall not be found naked. For we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened. Not for that we should be unclothed, but clothed upon, that mortality might be swallowed up of life. So we got these mortal bodies, man. We groan in these bodies. It's a burden trying to keep yourself together, just as a mortal man, trying to make sure you're healthy, your knees and joints get sore, and you trying to make sure it's a burden, man. We ain't gonna have to worry about that. They ain't gonna have to what's the name? We ain't gonna have to worry about that. And when we get to the kingdom, we gonna have immortal bodies at that time. It said, verse 5. Now he that hath wrought us for the selfsame thing is God, who also hath given unto us the earnest of the Spirit. Therefore we are always confident, knowing that whilst we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord. For we walk by faith, not by sight. So we confident knowing that we absent from the Lord at this moment, but if you're keeping the commandments, you're gonna get that new body and be with God. Let's see where we at. Verse 9. Wherefore we labor, that whether present or absent, we may be accepted of him. So, but even still, no matter what, whether we present with him or not, says we labor, we put in the work, that we may be accepted of him. So it's work to be done, right? We gotta learn. We gotta try to spread the knowledge and truth to the four corners of the earth. You do your part. If you do your part, you do your part. I do my part. The sisters do their part. If everybody doing their part, then that's bringing us closer and closer to the kingdom. That's why we can't just sit back and just act like ain't nothing going on and just ain't nothing to be done. It's one thing to know, but then it's work to be done. That's why he said you gotta labor for this. Verse 10. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that everyone may receive the things done in his body, according to that he had done, whether it be good or bad. So we gotta all appear before the judgment seat of Christ. Everybody. It says that everyone may receive the things done in his body according to that he had done, whether good or bad. You're going to have to answer to all the things you have done. So make sure you're doing right. It says, knowing, verse 11, this is the kicker, knowing therefore the terror of the Lord, we persuade men. So this is how you, I know for me personally, that's, once you start learning that what sin is, and that you've been breaking them all this time, and that it's by the grace of God that he ain't took your behind out, you like, man, I gotta get right. I gotta start living right, because I really don't want that eternal damnation, right? So knowing therefore the terror of the Lord, we persuade men, but we are made manifest unto God, and I trust also are manifest in your consciences. So everybody understand that? We gotta put in work, knowing that you, whether we present with the Lord or absent, we want to be accepted by Him. So we gotta put in that work, and knowing that it's a fearful thing to fall into His hand. That's the way you persuade men. Look, you need to stop doing this because the Lord can punish you for that. There's judgment behind that. Like say you used to have a homosexual friend or whatnot. You tell them, hey man, you got to come out of that. You got to repent. Otherwise, the Lord could judge you. What's a judgment that could come from that? Death, disease, like AIDS. Because a lot of them homosexuals it's a lot of stuff that go on. When you look at that, they had that one shooting in Florida. Judgment from the Most High. All that gay club that got shot up. People sitting up here, feeling sorry. You know how people are when a shooting happens. They let's pray for these people. Da 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 da. But these people was in sin. This is a gay club. The Lord brought judgment. You should have been whoever was those people's close friends and families, especially if they Israelites. Should have been there telling them, man, you need to stay away from that, man. Quit doing that, because eventually it's gonna catch up to you. And that goes for anything. It could be you doing drugs, you having a woman problem, whether you're a whoremonger or a woman being a whore. All of that can catch up to you. You need to be fearing the Most High, because He can bring judgment on you for that. Let's go to Matthew chapter 25. And if we have any questions, just let me know. That's Matthew chapter 25. And we're going to start at verse 31. It says it's not worth it. Matthew chapter 25, we're going to start at verse 31. It says, when the Son of Man shall come in His glory, and all His angels with Him, then shall He sit upon the throne of His glory. And before Him shall be gathered all nations, and He shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divided his sheep from the goats. And He shall set the sheep on His right hand, but the goats on the left. Who you think the sheep are? Exactly. Who will be the goats? Exactly. So you got your ones doing right the ones that's on the right, that's doing right, the ones on the left is doing wrong. It said, then shall the King, capitalized, so as Christ, say unto them on His right hand, come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. So He's saying, hey man, y'all gonna come. This is for you. Everything's been prepared for you. It's ready for you. Verse 35, for I was hungry, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. So He's saying you done all these things, right? Verse 37 says, then shall the righteous answer Him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee and hungered, and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? So He's saying, when did we see you, Christ? When did we see you and do these things for you? He said, when saw we the stranger and took thee in, or naked, or clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick or in prison and came unto thee? So they're asking these questions to Christ. And this is the sheep. He said, and the King shall answer and say unto them, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. That's why we're not supposed to have respect of persons. From the top to the bottom, everybody got to be treated the same. Just because a man might not have riches and gold and a nice fancy car and whatnot, you need to, if you see that brother in need or in help, you need to help him. And that's not always we can talk about physical food and water and clothing and all of that, but the word too. It's symbolic of that word. If you see a brother that's lost and like literally lost in the sauce. He ain't got a clue of what's going on in this world. You need to stop and tell him, like, hey man, you realize that this is not what it's cracked up to be. The things you're living for and trying to do ain't worth it. You got an inheritance in the kingdom if you keep the commandments. You're an Israelite. Verse 41. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand. Because who was on the left? You had the sheep on the right. And who was on the left?
The goats.
The goats. He said, depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. So anybody that was out there serving the devil and sold your soul over to the devil, you rather love these riches and everything of this world, hey, you got a place prepared for you too, but it ain't the kingdom of heaven. You're gonna be in that everlasting fire. He said, for I was hungry and ye gave me no meat. I was thirsty and ye gave me no drink. I was a stranger and ye took me not in. Naked and ye clothed me not. Sick and in prison and ye visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee in hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer them, saying, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did it not to one of the least of these, ye did it not to me. All the things you was doing to people, the wrong things, not, giving them the word, just letting people just suffer. You ain't trying to help nobody out. You just, you a person that was probably about yourself, about your, selfish.
So if we don't know someone specifically, like in prison or in a hospital or something, should we just as a group go and minister to these people, or how do we act out?
I mean, yeah, there's things you can do. You can go up in this programs. There's things that you can look up and find ways to help out people, to set up things to help the ones that are without. That we've done. I think the sick with a mother-in-law that recently passed.
Yeah.
We went over there. We prayed with her. That's the sick. But like, yes, there are people in prison. There be, we know people in prison. I'm pretty sure you or somebody in your family or somebody close to you's family member know somebody that may need that word to come to them in prison. You helping them, especially somebody that's been in prison for something that they didn't do. You know what I'm saying? Because this brother's dealing with that. That's been locked up for things they ain't do, innocent and just in locked up. Sorry, the screen went out. There we go. Alright. So yes, there is things we can do. It's just, we have to put, you just got to stop, think about it, put your mind to it, say, okay, I want to go here and go, visit the prisons and go speak to a couple people, to speak to some men out there. The strangers, the naked, people in need, so you just gotta, when you see that you have an opportunity to do that, do it. Verse 46 said, and these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. So just showing you the separation between the good and the bad, the sheep and the goat. That's a good question though. So let's go to Acts chapter 5. Acts chapter 5, and we're going to start at verse 14. This is going to be an example of fear in the Most High. Alright, so it says, and believers were more added to the Lord, multitudes both of men and women. So people were starting to believe this word. And as much as they brought forth the sick into the streets and laid them on beds and couches, that at the least the shadow of Peter passing by might overshadow some of them. There came also a multitude out of the cities round about unto Jerusalem, bringing sick folks, and them which were vexed with unclean spirits, and they were healed every one. Apostles was going around healing people. It says, then the high priest rose up, and all they that were with him, which is the sect of the Sadducees. Remember I said the high priest was the Sadducees and Pharisees? He says, and they were filled with indignation. Meaning what? If they were filled with indignation. Let's click on it. What does indignation mean?
Jealousy.
They was jealous. They was envying these men. Why? Because they that's like one of us going on the corner and preaching by a church house or something. We preaching the true word of God. We bring it out and people are listening. They getting it. They like, man, they starting to change their life. Man, the high priest will be the pastors there. They envious. They like, man, how they over there, how they over there healing people? How they over there getting people to change? They removing unclean spirits from these people. Helping them heal their souls. That's what these high priests was doing in that time. So he said they laid their hands on the apostles and put them in the common prison. So that would be an example of what we just read, showing you that some brothers may get put in prison over doing something righteous. People, if you watched any of these Israelite videos out here, you see at certain times people try to call the laws on you for being out there preaching the word. You ain't doing nothing wrong but coming out the Bible, and they over here calling a white man on you to take you to jail. Your own people will do that to you. So he's saying that they laid their hands on them and put them in a common prison. It said, but the angel of the Lord by night opened the prison doors and brought them forth and said, go, stand and speak in the temple to the people all the words of this life. So the angel of the Lord got them out of that. He said, and when they heard that, they entered into the temple early in the morning and taught. But the high priest came, and they that were with him, and called the council together, and all the senate of the children of Israel, and sent to the prison to have them brought. So those high priests that put them in there said they called the council together, all the senate of the children of Israel, and sent them to the prison to have them brought. So they were gonna go to that prison and have them brought forth. It said, but when the officers came, they found them not in the prison. They returned and told, saying, the prison truly found we shut with all safety, and the keeper standing without before the doors. But when we had opened, we found no man within. They was confounded. They was like, how did they get out? Verse 24. Now when the high priest and the captain of the temple and the chief priest heard these things, they doubted of them whereunto this would grow. Then came one and told them, saying, behold, the men whom ye put in prison are standing in the temple and teaching the people. So they were still putting in work. They got put in prison behind this. The angel told them, y'all go ahead and go in the temple and go teach. They could have said, nah, man, we already have been put in prison behind this one. We ain't doing this no more. But they was willing to labor for the truth. They didn't fear man. They didn't fear going to prison. They didn't fear death.
They didn't even rest or take a nap or anything.
Exactly. They went to work. They went early in the morning to the temple and started teaching. So, verse 26. Then went the captain with the officers and brought them without violence, for they feared the people lest they should have been stoned. So they went and got them again, but they said they didn't bring them with violence because they were scared that the people probably would have turned on them and stoned them. So he said, verse 27, and when they had brought them, they set them before the council. And the high priest asked them, saying, Did not we straitly command you that ye should not teach in this name? And behold, ye have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine and intend to bring this man's blood upon us. So it's like them asking you, they're like, man, didn't we ask y'all to quit teaching this truth? Quit teaching these people this, man. Y'all filling this city up with this doctrine of truth, and we got to keep the commandments and the doctrine of Christ that Christ told them to preach. He said, you intended to bring this man's blood upon us. But what did Peter say? Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men. So that's the understanding on that verse you see in the backdrop of what's going on. They went to prison behind this. bro, they got him again and brought him back to the council. The same people that put him in prison, they had to answer to them again. And they said, look, man, we gonna obey God. We ain't obeying man. He said, the God of our fathers, the God of our fathers, because who is our fathers? The Israelites, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, our forefathers. He said, raised up Jesus, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree. Him hath God exalted with his right hand to be a prince and a savior. So he's our prince, he's our savior, and he's for to give repentance to Israel. Did he say to the world, to all people? He said to Israel. And forgiveness of sins. Because guess what? The laws was given to us and only us. It was given to us as a people. So in order to sin, there has to be law present. He didn't give a law to the other nations. They didn't even know what sin was or what the judgments for those sins is. But see, these Sadducees and whatnot, these was high priests, these was our people. See, they just didn't understand the gospel though. They didn't understand. They had to be taught differently, because when Christ came, he ushered in that new covenant. It was still to keep the laws, but we were grafting back in the scattered Israelites, the Gentiles per se, and bringing them back to the fold. But we had to believe on Christ and his word. Let's go down, keep going down. It says, and we are his witnesses of these things, and so is also the Holy Ghost, whom God hath given to them that obey him. So in order to, so that's another thing. In order to even get the Holy Ghost, the Most High will give it to you, but he gonna only give it to them that obey him. So whatever they catching in these churches ain't the Holy Ghost. When they shaking and rattling and twitching in the churches, that ain't the Holy Ghost that they got on them. That's an evil spirit they probably got on them, because it says God give it to them to them that obey him. And you know, if you keeping Sunday, that's already breaking the commandment. You breaking the Sabbath. Verse 33. And when they heard that, meaning the Sadducees, they were cut to the heart and took counsel to slay them. So they was mad about that thing. They didn't want to hear that. They was trying to figure out a way to get rid of these brothers. Just like the world is trying to find a way to get rid of us as Israelites. They see this awakening going on right now. They trying to find a way to discredit us at every turn they can. Calling us a cult, calling us, we out here spitting hatred. Nah, it's the truth. We know who our enemies are. We know that the Most High gave this commandment to Israel, that the whole Bible was written to the nation of Israel. We know that. But it's going against the grain. It's going against the grain that Satan laid. So that's why they don't want to hear it. It hurts their hearts to hear these things coming out. So the last verse is Isaiah. Back into the Old Testament, the prophet Isaiah, chapter 14. And we're going to start at verse 12. So all of this is tying into that it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. We got to have that spirit of Peter and the apostles, how they was going around teaching and didn't care about what was going to happen to them. That's just how it goes. Now, am I saying go to your job and be stupid and just be causing a scene? No. But when it comes to teaching the word to your people, whether it be your family, your friends, or whatnot, you can't hold no punches. You got to just let them know the truth is the truth. The word is the word. You know? And we've already seen that some people are going to, stop fooling with you behind it. You may have some close friends or family that don't want to deal with you no more. And that's just those are some of the things that we as people fear sometimes. We like, man, I don't want to just not have a relationship with this person over keeping the commandments. But hey, that's what a separation is. If anybody watched the last lesson that I did, what was called "I Came Not to Bring Peace But a Sword," that's what we was talking about. It's talking about that division that this word was going to bring. Because the sword is the word of God. Yeah. It divides up the good and evil. So what side are you going to stand on?
And you mentioned the different family members.
Exactly.
Mother against daughter.
Mother against daughter, father against son, all of that. Mother-in-law, father against daughter-in-law, all of that. So you got to be willing to go through that. You got to endure to the end. That's the only way you're going to make the kingdom. If you're not willing to bear that cross, and you denying Christ, he said, I'm gonna deny you to the Father. So hey, you gotta choose what you want to do. And he don't want no lukewarm person. You gotta be all the way in it. So Isaiah chapter 14, let's start at verse 12. It says, How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. So this is talking about Lucifer. And Lucifer is Satan. It's another word for Satan, the devil. And that's a man today. That's a nation of people today. They the ones that's basically done said in their mind, we gonna ascend to the heavens and we gonna exalt their own thrones above the stars of God. They trying to be gods. They trying to downplay the Bible and create their own laws. They changing the laws, times, and everything.
Creating their own religion.
They creating their own religions. They the ones that done that in pride. They doing it in arrogance and pride. Verse 14, it says, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. That's what they want to be. They want to be like the Most High. They want to have that type of power. But guess what? The only reason they even in power, the power that they got now is due to us sinning. It's due to our old disobedience. It's only for a time period that they about to be on top anyway. And they know their time is coming up. Verse 15. It says, Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. So you're going to be brought all the way back down to the bottom. So don't get it twisted. It says, They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? So it says, when we see them come down, we're going to be saying these things. Like, dang, this was the person that was sitting up here causing all this mayhem in the earth, shaking up the kingdom, going around killing all these people and taking over these lands and whatnot, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof. That's all they doing is destroying this place, man. They tearing up the earth with their greed. It says that open not the house of his prisoners. All the kings of the nations, even all of them lie in glory, everyone in his own house. But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. So thou hast cast out, but thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch. They're going to be cast out. They're going to be slain. They're going to be thrust through with the sword. They're going to go down to that hill that he was talking about.
What does it mean by carcass trodden under feet?
A carcass.
A carcass.
You know what a carcass is? A dead body, a corpse. He said it's going to be like a dead body trodden under the feet. It's just, this is what's going to happen to them, to these kings, these rulers right now, the people that's running the earth. Because remember, we read in Job, who is the earth given to?
Us.
No. He said, who is the earth given to right now?
Other nations.
He said he called them the wicked though. He said the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So right now, the earth is being run by wicked people. But guess what? They thinking that it's from their own power. They think it's them that's done this. No. The Lord is just a lot. He's using them to wake us up. He's using them as punishment to us, and that punishment is supposed to wake us up and say, "Oh, we're the children of God. We're supposed to be keeping these commandments and get this earth back in order. Until we get back in order, the earth not gonna be in order." So that's why all this destruction and all this stuff is going on, because we as a people ain't right yet. Once we get right, then Christ gonna come back. He gonna destroy all these people, destroy it. You know, America is gonna get nuked. So that's just automatic. This ain't even where we gonna be. We gonna get taken back. We gonna go back to our land, and then everything will be under our subjection again.
You're like how you said, like they think that it's because of their power. Weren't we like that at one point? Isn't that why we lost it?
That was Correct. When we back in the Old Testament, you'll read verses that'll show you what God told us. He said, "Hey, y'all remember to praise me and glorify me in everything that you do." He said, "Otherwise, if you don't, you gonna what? You gonna get the big head. You gonna think that it's because you got all this." He said, "No, I'm the reason." The Lord made us to be dependent on Him. That's how He created us. To where if you didn't depend on Him, you were gonna destroy yourself. You were gonna perish. That's why a lot of people go through the things they go through. They don't truly trust in the Most High. They don't keep His commandments. They don't trust that He gonna bring them out of the situation. They think they gotta do it on their own. But they gotta make up a way to do it. So yes, you're correct. That's exactly why we're in the positions we are. Because at one point we were the kings and queens of the earth, but we thinking, oh, okay, well, we up here, so now I'm gonna do what I want now. That's the thing. With much power and much, with that authority comes responsibility, and you got to be able to know what you're doing. You got to just keep these commandments. So where we at? Verse 20. Verse 20. It says, "Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities." So so that goes into your the offspring of these people. Cause what do these people say today? Ah, man, that wasn't us that did that to y'all. When it comes talking about slavery and stuff like that. First of all, we still are slaves. So what they talk about is irrelevant anyway. But if you just want to talk about the physical slavery that we went through and the things they'd have done to us as a people back in the day, you the offspring of them. It says prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers. They got to pay for the stuff their fathers did, just like we had to pay for the things our fathers did. Right? We paying right now because our forefathers didn't want to keep the commandments. We was born into this. We was born into this captivity. We don't even know what it feels like to be the kings or anything like that, because we ain't never seen that side of it. So they gotta pay for they children gotta pay for the things that they fathers have done to us too. It says that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name, and remnant, and son, and nephew, saith the Lord. So he gonna cut them off completely, because they evil. They never knew the Lord. He gotta cut them off. You see the things they doing. If he can't let them keep going, man, it would be just so much destruction. It'd be even worse. If you read the Bible and then see come to today, the world has gotten worse and worse and worse and worse as it goes on, as far as the evil and wicked that these people come up with.
It gets worse like every month.
Exactly. So he said, I got to cut off the remnant, the son, the nephew, saith the Lord. He said, I will also make it a possession for the bittern and pools of water, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction, saith the Lord of hosts. So the bittern, a species of birds. He said, I'm going to make it their possession. It's going to be pools of water. That's how, that's what he means. Like he going to just, because this is spiritual Babylon that we living in. This is Babylon the Great that they talk about in the book. So he going to destroy this place. It's going to be nothing. It's just going to be a place where birds come to get water. It's just what it is. There ain't going to be no kingdom here. Ain't going to be no huge buildings and a bunch of trade going on and money flowing in and out of people's hands. It ain't going to be like it is today. It's going to be swept with the besom of destruction. That's the fear of the Most High. It says, the Lord of hosts hath sworn, saying, surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass. And as I have purposed, so shall it stand. So, hey, the Lord spoke it. He swore it. He's saying this is going to happen. So, hey, we can't, this is thus saith the Lord. We ain't spitting no hate. It is what it is. The Lord said this is what he got to do, and it's going to happen. He said, so shall it stand. Just like when the curses that he said on us was going to stand, if we didn't keep it, it's still going on today. Them curses follow us everywhere. It's been following us. So, hey, it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the Most High. Summarize it up. All we need to do is keep the commandments. Remember that at the end of the day, our whole duty is to keep the commandments, spread this truth, stand bold in the truth. Don't be worried about what man, woman gonna say to you for doing it. Now, like I said, that's not to be going and causing uproars in your schools and jobs and all that. You still gotta be smart and be able to take care of your household. But at the end of the day, when it comes to when you're bringing the word out to people outside of those places, you can't hold no punches. You gotta just let them know it is what it is. Cause people gonna ask you. They gonna be saying why you got them fringes, why you don't celebrate Christmas, why you on the Sabbath, why you can't come to the mall with us and come get these new J's that we about to go buy. They might ask you these things. You gotta tell them.
Always happens to me.
Don't deny Christ. Is there any other questions that anybody has? So I want to say shalom to everybody that joined us, and want to say have a happy Sabbath.